Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session around impact partnerships. My name is Ana Camerano. I'm the head of AI scaling program at Tech to the Rescue. And today I have, this pleasure to host our second impact partnership session where we bring tech companies, founders that had, this drive to do an impactful project with nonprofits that have, something very meaningful that they were working on, but they needed that technological support to actually build and scale. And here today, we have very special guests that got together to build something that is around AI for safety net clinics, which for me, the topic already sounds very important, very serious, and I'm super curious to hear more about it. With me today, I have Andre, who is the CEO of 26 Bits. Hi, Andre. Welcome.
Hi.
And from the MedCycle Network, we have Ji-Won Min and Eric Talbert. So, hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you feeling today? All good? Good morning to some of you. Good afternoon to you, Andre, I guess.
Yeah, it's all the evening right now. Yeah, here in my place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's for you, Eric and Ji-Won. You're the early birds today at the session.
We are, yeah. Thanks, Anna. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area, so getting our day started right by chatting with the two of you.
Yeah, well, I hope you guys have your coffee. We're supposed to have, a very open conversation here. And before we start, I actually want to give a heads up to our audience, right? And how we're going to structure the next 60 minutes together. So we don't have a script. We are here, to get together, discuss a bit about this project, hear more how this partnership even took place, how you guys even, decided to form a partnership, around that project, what is it about, and so on. We'll get there, right? But I also want to, I will time myself so that we finish 10, 15 minutes earlier, and then we jump into answering a couple of questions that we might have from the audience. So for everyone that is here, that is listening to this conversation, if you have any questions, any comments, or you want to address specifically one of our guests, you can just write the question or whatever it is on the chat. And when we're about, 50 minutes, 45 minutes in, we'll have a Q&A moment, okay? Of course, feel free in the middle, while we are talking, if you have a comment, reactions to what is being said, feel free to use the chat. We want, this is an open space for you and feel more than, comfortable to interact with us as much as possible. Before we start, I would love to give you the floor and hear, your own introduction and perhaps, that very quick pitch. What is this organization that you're presenting? What is MedCycle Network? And also, what is 26 Bits? So I would like to start maybe with Ji-Won, if you can introduce yourself. Then I'll jump to Eric. And then both of you guys, you can just give us a bit of a glimpse of what is MedCycle.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Ji-Won. My day job is as the CTO of Every.org, which is a fundraising platform set up as a nonprofit to help out other nonprofits. But more importantly for this call, I'm also part of the MedCycle Network board. I run the tech committee to help kind of drive the tech direction forward of MedCycle Network. Super happy to be joining, and I'll pass it off to Eric.
Thank you, Ji-Won. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Talbert. I'm the CEO and co-founder of MedCycle Network. And I've spent over 20 years moving medical supplies all over the world. And during that time, I saw billions in valuable items discarded while local clinics struggled to care for our neighbors. So for me, it wasn't just heartbreaking. It was clearly like a broken system. So I co-founded MedCycle Network with my two co-founders, Andy and Ernesto, and a whole group of incredible board members like Ji-Won. Because MedCycle Network solution turns medical surplus into health access. And we do this by reducing friction to equip safety net clinics with free medical supplies when needed based on their requests to save them time and money so they can treat more patients because that's their wheelhouse. And in our first year, we were able to redistribute $1.8 million in medical supplies to over 20 local partners here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're on track to double that this year, largely thanks to partnerships like Tech to the Rescue and Andre and what his team at 26 Bits was able to build in collaboration.
Thank you so much. And the stats are quite shocking. No, Eric, I mean, there's so many around them, but it's in the house of billions, right? Of medical supplies and so on, they just get wasted.
That's right. Yeah, there's some reports and research around $750 billion is a number that's often thrown around, kind of depending on how you slice and dice that. But just the fact that it's in the billions in the U.S., there's just so much excess and surplus. And there's other ways organizations have gone about solving this. But as far as we know, we're really kind of the first actor in this space, particularly with the technology to be able to really address this at scale, which AI allows to happen, which just wasn't an option before. We can talk about that more in a little bit, but the numbers are staggering. But luckily, so is the response is very proactive and strategic. And how do we just connect what is usable to the folks who need it to be able to take care of folks, to provide that high quality healthcare, because we believe and know that's a human right. So how do we increase access to that with existing resources to really support the existing health ecosystem?
Yes. And one also question, so we frame the conversation and we know which terms we're talking about. Maybe people in the audience are not very familiar with the term safety net clinic. Could you just explain exactly what we mean with that?
Yeah, thank you, Anna. And so here in the United States, there's a network of free and safety net clinics. And these are often charitable clinics. Sometimes they're one-offs run by volunteers. Other times they're a network of clinics that provide healthcare to people in the United States. And specifically, we're focused on starting here in California to people who don't have health insurance or who are underinsured, whether they lost their insurance because through their employer or don't have access to that for various other reasons. So otherwise, what they would do is they would go to a hospital, and most likely the emergency department, no matter what their issue is. So unfortunately, they delay care, don't receive care, or don't access it to be able to maintain or get the quality treatment that they need. So these frontline heroes out there providing care, nurses, physicians, administrators, everybody at these clinics are really providing incredible infrastructure to healthcare in the United States. And again, the term is safety net. It was supposed to be a net, be able to treat a few folks in between spaces, but more and more, the issue is escalating. We're hearing from our partners throughout the state and around the country that more people, 20 to 30% more people are showing up at their clinics, yet these clinics have the same budget and the same staff. And so they're trying to, they treat everyone who shows up, regardless of insurance status, ability to pay, to provide them with high quality care. And so one of the ways we help them is by providing them, be able to collect medical surplus from hospitals and then donate it, collect it, organize it, and then donate it and deliver it for free to these clinics to save them time and money. Because we just want them to do what they can do best, which is just treat more of our family, friends, neighbors with high quality healthcare as it continues to increase.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's such an important work. We're going to go deeper that in a moment, but I also want to give the floor to Andre to introduce yourself and give, the short pitch about 26 Beats.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Anna. Actually, hello, everyone. I am Andre. I am founder and CEO of 26 Beats. I've been in software business for 10 years already, but 2 years ago, I decided to start my own company with maybe a bit childish idea because I wanted to change the world, right? Like everyone. So we got specialized in health care industry and medtech industry really quickly. And this is why I'm here. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. And well, I think what brings us together, all the four of us, is that we actually want to change the world somehow through the means that are possible, right? Technology, through healthcare, whatever it is. But I think that's the glue that put us all in the same room. Well, thank you so much, guys. It's lovely, to get to know a little bit more, and also for the audience to learn more about your projects, your organizations, your company. So I want to then start, from the beginning, right? Before even talking about the match that you guys had and the project that you built together, I will ask MedCycle team first. What was the problem that you were trying to solve, and why through technology? So how this even, started for you?
Yeah, I'll start at a high level and then I'll quickly ask Jiwan to jump in here on the technology side. But But like Andre, it was less than 2 years ago we started MedCycle Network, and part of that, to your point, Anna, was we identified a need, which is like within this space around the medical surplus in the United States, right? There's a lot of really great organizations that focus on, and I've had the pleasure of doing a lot of this work during my 20 years moving medical supplies, is to collect supplies, coordinate and ship them internationally. And I've been to Sudan and Sierra Leone and the Philippines and doing that work. And there was also like smaller local volunteer groups who were doing kind of on the person to person of like, oh, I have some extra stuff. I want, this wheelchair is still good. I want to give it to a neighbor. But there wasn't a organization that we were aware of that was focusing specifically on health systems and hospitals to help them manage and collect their surplus, so that way they get environmental credit for the waste diversion. And at the same time, the focus was on the local clinics of what do they need and how can we be able to match those needs and not just create more time and stress, externalize those resources, but really meet them as a partner, right? I think a lot of what you're saying earlier and we've heard is right around honest partnerships, around active listening, say, what do you need and how can we help do that? Because there wasn't being done or could be done newer. So part of this, to your point, honestly, was technology. G1 and I have collaborated over the years on several humanitarian projects and able to build some really powerful technology. So we knew it was available and did our market research and did our outreach and spoke and mostly listened to a lot of folks around, okay, what are the needs? How can we do that better? And then with the current technology, and again, a year and a half ago, AI and machine learning, it was fairly early in what we're dealing with today. But we knew the challenge, and this is where I'm going to pivot over to G1 quickly. But the crux of it, and it sounds so simple, but this is part of why I love problems like this, is the simplicity of like the surface, and then how quickly it becomes complex. So the simple was like, how do we just make better matches? That's it, right? Okay, so we got all these supplies, no matter what your field is, no matter what you're doing. It's like, okay, you got a lot of inventory of stuff at some place, right? And how do you organize it, collect it, and then communicate effectively through your listening tools like technology to be able to make those matches? And so the short history, as I understand and shared, is like within the space, humanitarian aid, medical supplies, right? Before the internet, a lot of what was happening was called a push model. So I would hear on the news or through a friend or through a colleague, something was happening somewhere, a tsunami, an earthquake, or war, and supplies were needed. And I would send whatever I had access to, whether it was helpful or not. But in my mind, my best intention was like, oh, I have teddy bears. I think those children in that area would like teddy bears. Well, that causes a whole bunch of problems for everybody in the supply chain. And then when the internet came around, the second generation is called a pull model. Right, so first is push. Right? I'm just going to send Anna what I think her community needs. I'm not really going to listen, pay attention, but I'm going to act right as if I from a place of goodwill. And then that's a push model. With the pull model on the internet, go online and there's a database and I can search and I can say, oh hey, right, Anna can tell me exactly what her and her community need at this time, as an example. Totally changed, generational revolution. We are now in the third generation of that, and we're building an offer model. Thanks to Andre and his team and G1 and our tech committee, we are intentionally, this is what we were set up to do, is to be able to say, save you time and money, clinic partner, because we're going to listen and use the machine learning and the AI to take our inventory and take all the publicly available information, the needs list, the wish list that you provided us, your order history with us, and we're just going to quickly offer you through an app what we think the top 3 things we think you need. So you can say yes, no, more or less, these different sizes, ship it yesterday because we need it tomorrow, or in 2 weeks because we have limited space and we have to manage our inventory. So going from a push to a pull to an offer, just to be able to make that very simple thing, which is a highly accurate match.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, right? Because of course, I'm not an expert in the healthcare sector and so on, right? Which I'm understanding is not only about taking the surplus and just relocating somewhere else and that's it, right? No, it's actually seeing these, offers that you have, but really being very effective and matching it in a very smart way, because you also don't want to generate, just change the problem to another physical space. You actually want the
Exactly.
surplus to be used and effective for those clinics for what they need, what they are in most need for the community to support vulnerable people that they serve every day, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's exactly it.
And I think one of the things about it is Eric and I met in that humanitarian space. We learned how tech can be really, really effective there. But one of the most appealing things about joining MedCycle Network at the time is he was like, let's do this in our own backyard, right? Like we're taught, we've done this internationally, but can you imagine helping our own local communities? And then where tech plays a piece on that smart match model. Eric came to me with this vision already. I'm here just to help execute it out, but he was like, imagine doing this in a local space and having the tech to be able to smartly match it, but then having it be repeatable, right? And so as technologists, we all know like where tech truly shines is not just building tech because it's AI and it's sexy, but it's because it works and it's repeatable and it's scalable, right? And so we're starting in Northern California. Part of Eric's vision with this is someone in Ohio wants to start this locally and start collecting medical surplus, and the tech is available for them to start it up there too, and over and over and over again. First within the US and then internationally, if that works, if that model works. So.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will. I will keep my fingers crossed, of course, because the work that you're doing is really amazing. And Jiwon, because I know you are a technologist, you're a CTO in an organization and part of the board of MedCycle, which I think you bring this technical aspect of it, much, of course, rooted in humanitarian aid and so on, but you have this technical background, right? But I wanted to ask from the rest of the MedCycle staff, do you guys have other technologies, or how does that work internally? Because what I usually see with the nonprofits that we work with, social impact organizations, you just have, really a lot of people that they don't come from a technical background, but they know that they need technology to actually scale, to serve more people, to have more impact and so on. And I think, that's one of the beauties of having this sort of partnerships that we have here today, right? Is to bring this technological, extra arm to people that are really very much experts in their field, very much experts in impact. Is it that the case for MedCycle?
I'm curious to hear Jiwon's point. I would say yes, right? As someone who's been close to technology, but by no stretch of imagination, we call myself a technologist, especially in the room with Andre and Jiwon. Not me, but I'm a huge fan. I'm learning as much as I can, always have, and I've always understood it being an important part of the tools and the resources we have, especially in the nonprofit sector. Right, to your point on how are we going to change the world for the better with the limited resources we have, right? We're going to do that through partnerships. We're going to do it through collaborations, and we're going to do that one step at a time to build that trust and to do it safely, because we know mistakes will be made. We need to be able to quickly respond to that, do the repair, and be able to move forward and not give up or be afraid to take those steps or to dream bigger because of the risk, right? So how do you take these calculated risks together? And especially through technology, to Jiwon's point, like this is the opportunity to scale, right? And this is what we understood at MedCycle Network, is not only can we do this in this space that's, in this very unique way, but we can do it hyper local, we can do it decentralized, and then we can build the technology and the resources, the connections for it to scale, to have a life on its own. So anywhere, right, in the US that there's medical surplus, it can be repurposed. And we do partner locally with international organizations who are shipping supplies to Ukraine here in the Bay Area, right? So it's flexible is also part of it. And I think to your point on it, like, right, what I'm really looking for, and I share this a lot, is like we as a society, as a nation, as a world are facing an increased amount of polycrises, right? There's just so much is happening all the time in so many spaces, right? And so what I believe we have built in our intention here at MedCycle Network, and we're looking to partners with others who have this mentality like Tech to the Rescue, we need poly solutions, right? And so that's every.org, like the work that Jiwon does during the day, like, right? How do we do this, make things better, easier, to increase velocity of folks who understand and want to put resources to helping us create the world as it could be and as it should be. And, part of Andre's dream of like, let's do something better, let's change the world for the better together, and leveraging technology and these partnerships to be able to do that. So I say that to go back to your original point. Back to the poly part of this, I'm a big fan of multi-generational, multi-class, multi-race, multi-collaborative, multi-experiences within that type of lived experience, that diversity in the room, because that always generates, in my experience and my belief, a better ideas and outcomes that any one or just a few of us could come up with. So yes, there's people on the board and in the MedCycle Network staff who are, somewhat, different areas of spectrum on the technology. But when, Jiwan shows up and gives a demo of the app that 26 Bits made, like the delight and the excitement is there for everyone, right? And that's how we know,
Yes.
right, we are successful and we want to keep building and keep moving forward.
Exactly. Everyone is an enthusiast. We do have some people within the tech sector there in marketing and in product who are very helpful, kind of just to round it out. But I like the challenge of being able to explain, the usefulness of tech. I think every organization will go through this no matter what. We're lucky to have a lot of enthusiasm for putting real resources behind this. But the challenge of, can I explain to you that this is actually going to work and this is going to be useful, is great for every organization to have, even with such enthusiasm behind it. So we're lucky to have that at MedCycle.
Yeah, no, I think it's a perfect balance, right? Because of course now with AI everywhere and like you cannot escape from it, right? You have to understand how to use it and in the best way possible, but also not to fall in this, this pitfall of actually going through the hype, right? Because it's trendy, because
Exactly.
we just think we should be using it. No, there's a logic behind it. There has to be a strategy and a real reason behind it, right?
Exactly.
But I want to ask Andre, before we jump into the project, so what you actually built together, Andre, I want to ask you, because of course here we're not talking about a commercial partnership, right? And this is something about you checking some projects, going through this because there's the impact behind, right? Because it's a cause that I imagine you care about. You already mentioned that 26 Bits always had this inclination to work with health and so on. But I want to ask you, as a CEO and founder of the company, what made you say yes to get on board into this project?
That's a great question, Anna. Thank you. I believe there are like always two sides of a coin, right? There's always some personal reason, and there is some, I would say, like a reason of me as a business owner, as a founder of a company. So, like one of the reasons from the like business side, I would say, was that we as a company, we have so many obligations, right? We build products for our clients. We have some very strict contracts and everything, and it's hardly possible for us to expose our experience in public, right? But we always want to be able to demonstrate our work and show it. So that was actually one of the cases where we had most experience in medicine and logistics. And I don't know, like, if I'm not sure if Eric minds me sharing some behind scenes things, but in our very first session, I think it was a very, very short one and in a very positive way, because when I prepared a very like long list of questions about the project and everything, but the very first question was like, the very first question to Eric was, what are you guys trying to build? Like, and instead of saying what MedCycle Network was trying to build, Eric asked me, like, what do you think? What do you advise? You already know something about our application and everything. And I was like, okay, just we built similar thing before, and I believe that you might need to bring more structure to data because you're going to make the application more scalable. You're going to apply some machine learning algorithms and so on and so on. And when I completed my speech, Eric was like, okay, this is exactly what we want. So yeah, it was a very quick match. Yeah, that was the first yes. So the second yes was also, I think I was watching one of the podcasts where Eric was a guest, and he mentioned very nice things, something like, you need to learn the, yeah, that was the quote. And I think that everything that I have as a person right now, I am very grateful to other people that believed in me at some point of time. I I really value this. I appreciate their trust, and this is why I believe that we should give back to world. So this was the second yes, and that's how we matched at that session.
No, I love the story. I love the how you mentioned in the very beginning. But this is always what we, at least in Texas Rescue, we try, to encourage companies, because exactly what you said. There's always two sides of going into an impactful partnership, into a project that is not a commercial project, right? And of course, there has to be a business value there, because in the end of the day, there has to be gains for the organization behind it, right? You need to have a reliable, useful, responsibly built product, right? Depending on what you have, but that you can actually, use for impact, serve people, or however it is you're going to use it, right? But for the company that is jumping in as well, there has to have some sort of value that is gained from these two when it comes to the business side, right? Whatever it is. But I think the best partnerships work when there is this very clear gains on both sides. But of course, I think the cherry on the top is always when there is this personal stories behind it, right? When there is this personal drive to work with a particular cause, and especially, when we're talking about tech agencies, software houses, right? These are all the technologists. So being able to put your talent, which is, building, developing on something that you really care about, I think it must be very rewarding. And that's what I hear as well from here. So I'm very happy with that. Well, but now I want to know, guys, we're talking about the partnership, how you work together and so on. I want to ask in plain sight, what was built? What actually were you guys working on in the past, what was it, 6 months, more or less, that you took from getting matched to develop and deploy the solution, right? Was more, am I correct in the timeline?
I think so.
Yeah, but the development, I think it took 6 weeks or something.
Oh, 6
Yeah,
weeks. And I said
yeah.
6 months. I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
much shorter. Yeah. Apologies.
Yeah.
So what actually you guys were able to do in 6 weeks? So can you give us, a very simple terms, what was done, what was the purpose of it, and what is actually, because I know it's an app, right? What is this app that you built?
Oh, yeah. That's actually a great story because we didn't start from scratch. We started from the app that was already built. It was built on top of a Lovable and super-based platform. And one of the challenges for us was to learn how we can bring more structure to it, how we can make it more, how we can bring more ownership to data for computing, and how we can try to foresee all the further use cases like AI, machine learning, etc. So, of course, we wanted to preserve what we already had by that time. So we carefully detached the user interface from the backend of that app. Then we built a new backend from scratch. Then we connected the existing front end with backend. And in addition to that, we also introduced an admin panel for the app because we wanted to make it not just a prototype, but as a real world MVP. So like real workers, I mean the team staff, can, for example, pull new data into the system, or plan deliveries, schedule them, and so on and so on. For now, it's like a manual process, but it's a backbone of all further automation. Now it's definitely possible to build on top of that structure because everything is pretty robust, tested, and so on and so on. And we did it within 6 weeks. Yeah, this is exactly the term.
If I could add a bit more color to that, one of the earlier design calls with Andre and team, Eric and I were like, cool, we vibe coded this app. We want to be AI native. Like, let's go. And thankfully, Andre was like, hey, what if we actually build you a real backend first so that you can be AI native as the next step? Before you put it out there. So really appreciated that kind of check and the design partnership in that of setting us up for success in terms of what the back end looks like. Setting us up in AWS where you have control of the databases, that's industry standard, right? Like giving Eric and team admin access to Supabase was janky at best, and it was the best we could do while vibe coding with the resources that we had at the time. But Andre's team was really thinking, long term, as he said, about how to best control our data and set us up from a security standpoint, from a scalability standpoint, also affordability, right? Like eventually AWS will end up sorry, not eventually. AWS is the best setup for us to like really, really scale this. And the admin panel he mentioned didn't exist. And so it was a full refresh of the back end, setting us up for success and making sure that the MedCycle team could actually use MedCycle Delivers and kind of manage all of the app from their back of the office. So really grateful to the team for checking us and building it so quickly and setting us up for success.
Awesome. And how was it in practice, right? Because I love that, this is a full arch, right? It's about you guys in MedCycle, vibe coding, creating a prototype there, which I think is great, right? It's the best way to really visualize what you want to build. It helps you map some process, see some user flows here and there, right? Which I think it's amazing. But then when you actually want to go to the real world, right? And scale and make this usable, and I wouldn't even say usable, but make it sustainable, right? In a way that you can prepare to pilot it, scale it, and so on. I love the story. But I want to know, like in practice, how did that look like? For example, for you, Andre, when you decided to match, when you decided you wanted to work on this project, how do you, structure your team to work on such project, right? And is it like, were you discussing this internally? Were there volunteers? Like, how does that really work? So this is my first question, very practical terms, because I imagine there might be other founders here listening and they'll be, curious about it. And the second thing is that because you're building something here, again, outside of a commercial basis, right? This is an impact partnership that you're going forward. What happens to IP, right? What happens to the intellectual property and how the maintenance of that app goes for when it comes to MedCycle? As they should be, owning that app, the delivery app, and so on. So actually, the 3 questions disguised in a very long one. So team structure, IP, and moving forward with the app.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's a great question because, for some people it may sound like we chose some, I don't know, like baby processes or something, but actually we executed the entire development using our usual processes, the same like team structure, approaches, everything. We kept the team up to date with our weekly digests. We call them weekly digests, but it's basically like a follow-up for what we did within the week. We asked all the questions and we kept everything as transparent as possible from our side. So speaking from for the IP, we also transferred all the source codes, all the passwords, like literally everything. As a technical person, I'm trying not to make this complicated, but yeah, speaking of IPs, we transferred everything we had during the development. Some of the things we already, like at the very beginning of development, we started on the side of MedCycle Network team, for example, such as AWS infrastructure. Some of the things we were transferring during the development, but eventually, yeah, we executed it the same way as any other project of us and transferred everything. So yeah.
I love that. And well, I guess that's the way to go, right? And in the end of the day, these are all very serious partnerships in a way, right? And of course, they have to be balanced with other commercial agreements, commercial commitments, sorry. But very happy to hear that that's how the team was structured. And when it comes, because of course you had the 6 weeks developing and then transferring everything to G1 and Eric, for you guys at MedCycle, how is it now actually maintaining this app, right? Because this is now in your hands. So how does that look like?
Yeah, I would say, for us, I always want to reflect and appreciate Andre and his team, right? Because I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been in all sorts of partnerships, and it's really clear to me very early on who, his values align, like Andre, who's professional, like 26 bits, right? And then where that double or triple win is, to your point, Anna, like how do we like all contribute, still make it a priority, and not be treated like, oh, it's a pro bono nonprofit partnership. Like we'll get to it on the weekend, or maybe if we have a couple extra hours, so Monday night we might right? But these, the weekly digest, Andre and his team were very clear up front around what to expect on what timeline, transparent, as he said, and then just executed. It's like seamlessly through every step of the way. And it was like really clear, really great and very exciting and deeply appreciated on our part, because we knew, we then knew that our commitment and we also reinforced and were able to make it a priority, maintain it as a priority during this like 6-week sprint to get this done. Because, I think part of it from our end that we can share with folks who are listening for MedCycle Network, 26 bits wasn't the first potential match for us through Tech to the Rescue. And that's part of what I appreciate about Tech to the Rescue's process, is really finding the right match on both sides, right? So encourage, the nonprofit partners and the tech partners, like, go through the process, right? And find that clarity that Andre mentioned around the values and around the work and what you're capable of. Be very clear and transparent. Like, I hope we were as well, because that's what builds trust and allows for that the clarity, the velocity comes from the clarity. And so now that we have the app and we're building it, part of what, Juan mentioned earlier is it's been so helpful for us to be able to understand where we're at, what we need to do. And it's actually forced us in a really good way to look at our data structure and understand that, how, to your point, Anna, how are we going to maintain and build this out? So for us, we've got tens of thousands of medical items coming in from 10 to 15 different hospitals, right? We got to sort and organize those, put them on an online database with the details so that our 20 to 30 different clinic partners can see exactly what it is, or when the offers come through and make the matching. So it's really forced us to think through to owning the data, having the access to the technology, to really then think through how are we mapping and be able to track, so we can report back to the hospitals and the health systems, here's everything you gave us, here's where it went, right? So like back to the source, to the partners who received it. Here's some stories about the lives improved in the communities, right? Hyper local, to be able to tell that, to your point earlier on around the storytelling of like, what does this mean? Like, what difference, what positive change is this technology and this extra effort going around and making in the world? So it's being able to manage that, and has forced us from a data perspective to like really clean up and clean house and think about what we need to do to be able to scale, so that this app is manageable, the data is clean coming in to support the high accuracy of it. So, in a really great way, where we're now being able to manage that and then start thinking about, as Jiwan mentioned, scaling from, or growing, I should say, so growing from Northern California Bay Area to Southern California and having a hub, and be able to connect those two hubs and be able to scale throughout the state. With the vision of being able to do so nationally, so anyone anywhere with surplus can offer and or accept, to be able to speed up the distribution, because there is a forcing function on our side. A lot of these medical supplies have expiration dates, right? And we want to be able to receive them, get them in an offer with enough time for them to arrive, be put on the shelf, and get in the hands of a healthcare worker, and not have to worry about, like your point earlier on, we actually we just externalized the problem to somebody else, right? We want to stay away from that as much as possible. And that expiration date is part of what we're constantly working for and managing from.
Yeah, no, and I love that you said that, right? I mean, AI is as good as the data that it feeds on, right? So
Exactly.
it simply doesn't work if you don't do, the pre-work on that, right? It's not just about building, but actually giving a step back and like, okay, let's actually see the data that we have available, if it's usable. And I imagine, even working in the healthcare sector, this is 10 times, more important to be really, really accurate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of what 26 bits brought to the table, among many things, is they already had, as Andre mentioned, medtech experience. They're already HIPAA compliant, right? They're already in this space. They were able to help us think through, and then that through, like you want to mention, that growth and that vision plan to say, okay, what decisions do we need to make now based on their experience? Like Andre mentioned, it's like, oh, we've done something similar in this space for a commercial client. Great, that's the expertise, the knowledge, and the skill that we need that adds value as a nonprofit partner, because we're partnering with the same hospitals and health systems, and the first thing they're going to ask is HIPAA compliant, right? And so not have to explain that to somebody, but somebody to come and say, hey, yes, we are HIPAA compliant. Here's how we do it. And here's what you need to be able to do to maintain that status and be able to effectively communicate that to your partner so they feel reassured and that they understand that process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And well, before we continue, as we are 40 minutes in, I just want to give a heads up to the audience. We're still going to I have a few questions still to both Andre, Eric, and Jiwon. But if you're listening, you have any questions or comments, or you want to address anything to any of the guests, you can, ask in the chat. And in a few minutes, we're going to pick it up. If we don't have any questions, of course, we're going to keep the conversation because I have a lot of things here still to ask, and there's so much to unpack from this collaboration. So we discussed, how everything started, how was the development, how the partnership was structured, and so on. But now it's live, right? We have the MedCycle Delivers app. It's there. And I want to ask you, Jiwon and Eric, what has happened? How this app will shift maybe the day-to-day for the clinics, or if you already see the value showing up from this work, how they are using, and you can be very honest about it, right? But I really want to know what happened after these 6 weeks that you worked together, and now this is being used by the safety net clinics, by I imagine other staff from MedCycle. What is, the current status?
Yeah, I would say, the administrative panel that Jiwon mentioned earlier and Andre and his team brought to the table was transformational. Like, that was huge. And that's where we day-to-day internally spend our time, and where we can help. Part of where it's become really unique is like in the outliers. So for example, we've been redistributing more like reading glasses to clinics because it's really demand driven. It's like the clinics tell us what they need, right? We can make some predictability, but sometimes there's these one-offs. Just talking to one of our clinic partners yesterday, and they're like, do you have anything for ophthalmology? We want to start screening for cataracts because we're seeing more and more patients, more population, and we have a specialist who's willing to volunteer their time to do that, right? And it's like, okay, well, we currently don't have that, but I'm so glad you asked, because now we can go look at our inventory and then go upstream and say, hey, we don't have this, but there's a request for it, and then be able to do that in the aggregate through the different clinic partners. To your point on the clinic side, we're a bit behind on our end, and this is, again, back to like the nonprofit side, is getting the user feedback through the beta version to be able to scale, right? Because we really want this to be super streamlined and a delightful experience for them, because again, we're asking of their time, and we need the reward is to save them time, which is the most precious resource. And then to spend and save the clinic money with the motivation of like, oh, these are the things the patients I see every day need or want. And that's why it's like the healthcare workers often is like, they have a supply person making sure like they have the gloves, the gowns, and the gauze, the things they need to protect themselves. But it's when we're able to give the information like this real time, like this new upcoming, dentist work is becoming a new trend. Ophthalmology requests, even just like the reading glasses, where it's something more relatable, like, oh, with your reading glasses, like that, right? We don't necessarily think of that as a medical device, but a lot of folks wear glasses or have reading glasses, and it's more relatable, and then they can read their prescription or read the directions, or right, just there's this whole other added layer of quality of life that comes through something very simple that becomes a more complex problem. So we're working at adding that to the offer model, because we've got so much early uptick and request for those, and having that impact and be able to follow that through line.
Yeah. And with that in mind, maybe a question to Jiwon. What then, with the app now, right, and what you want to do and so on, what is the scaling ambition when it comes to the app, right? What is it, what is the next step? What is it that you want to do now? What is the scale that you mean?
Yes. As Eric said, we've been slow to onboard a little bit just because, these clinic partners, they just don't have the time to go and give us like thorough feedback. And so it's always this like chicken and egg problem of like, please give us feedback, but you're gonna go through like the beta version of the app. So ideally we get to a place where the front end is just as intuitive as the back end. The front end is still vibe coded, and I can only prompt an AI so much to create the most to create the best user interface. But the scaling ambition would be a clinic partner, the minute they join the MedCycle network, kind of network is immediately, they create and sign up, and then they can just start requesting things. Or even better, the real scalability is like, hey, let us integrate into whatever system you're using already for your inventory. You don't have to tell us what you need. We already know. We know your patterns. It's connected to our, very smart machine learning driven system that we're like, hey, next week you have some gloves coming your way. That sounds great. Fantastic, right? Like they don't even have to think about the app. That would be my absolute ideal. And then from the back end, right, it's doing this matching. So this is kind of an unsaid part of MedCycle Network, is part of why it's local is it's very environmentally unfriendly to send things overseas. Imagine if you can have the closest hospital with all of your needs come to you in the most environmentally friendly way, because it didn't travel 3,000 miles to get there. So that is part of the matching challenge that we're still tackling today. But that's also being done in the back end. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about which hospital it's coming from. So clinics are spending no time to receive these donations, life-saving donations. The back end is optimizing for the most environmentally friendly path for things to get from A to B. And hospitals are just not throwing these surplus goods away, right? So that times every region, everywhere. That's very ambitious, but if we could do that for Northern California really, really well, and Southern California, which is coming soon, I think we would have enough data to actually make it really, really useful for any other region that comes along.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you guys are on the right track. And we had a very nice comment from the audience, because, well, someone actually spotted this solution that you built creates value on both sides, right? Helps uninsured people gain access to the medical supplies through the safety net clinics, but also reduces the burden of disposing unused surplus for healthcare organizations, right? So I think was a nice view to that as well. But then I wanted to ask you, Andre, right? What, because we know the current status for MedCycle Delivers app and MedCycle Network, right, for the team. But then for you, now that you guys finished the project and you closed the partnership in a formal way, let's say, but what would you say maybe the two things that you or 26 Bits as an organization, what did you take from this partnership?
That's a great question. So I think first of all is that we indeed learned a lot of things working together. I mean, like both for the technical side and both from the MedCycle network area in general. Actually, one of the things that we've learned that a lot of software development company founders would hate me, but it actually works pretty well when you start a product like from some bytecode prototype, and then you turn it into because nowadays AI it's actually wonderful. It's building products is so accessible today. You can start like even literally everyone can try to build something themselves, and I believe this is great. We are not going against the development and evolution of that technology, but I see that our mission here is to, because we've been in this business for like years, and as like tech people, we know how to turn it into working MVPs. So I think that's great that you can start doing something yourself, and then it's totally possible to turn it into a real world product. That's one of the greatest insights that we've got from this collaboration.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I really love this as, a great example of how to make those partnerships work, right? Like I said, the way that you guys already vibe coded everything how you wanted and so on, I guess it makes much easier, right? To see the seriousness behind the team also that is doing that, and how committed the team is in actually building this product, this platform. But of course, Andre, you're also, CEO and founder, and we have also other founders that we talk on a daily basis. Some of them have some experience doing impact work. Some they don't. They just, are curious. They want to learn a little bit more, right? So I have to ask, from this perspective, from this role that you have, what would you say, that let's say there's a tech founder in the audience as well, and they are, waiting whether they should go or not into this kind of partnership with any of projects, if it's through Tech to the Rescue or not, but they have this curiosity of working with impact. What would you tell them? Any advice, any things that they should, consider before going into this? Or perhaps you have something like very convincing to tell them that is really worth it. What would be your message to them?
I think if they joined us today, they already did the very first step, right? So,
I hope so.
Yeah. So, I would say I would just encourage them to try the next step. As far as I know, that you guys Tech to the Rescue have a matching day in a week or so. So I encourage all those people to join that session and see and. As Eric said, try to learn the joy of giving.
Yes, and we have already a comment from the audience as well. Someone who is a software engineer from Kenya, doing Business Central ERP solutions, and have been inspired by this session. So I think, our job here is done. As much as we impact one life, I consider it always a success. But as Andre, thank you so much for, mentioning the matching day. And just for everyone here in the audience, we have a little bit less than 10 minutes. So if you have any questions or any inspirational comments as well, we're always happy to get those. But I want to invite everyone that is here to join our matching day. So next week on 17th of June, Tech to the Rescue is hosting a matching day, which is basically, a moment where we're going to bring amazing organizations such as MedCycle and including MedCycle Network, right, Eric? You're going to be there with us next week. And we're going to have organizations like MedCycle that have, very big and complicated problem that they're really trying to solve through technology, through using AI to actually scale impact. We're going to hear the pitches from those organizations on the 17th of June. And it's a moment of where tech founders, engineers, companies that always had, this interest of maybe, doing an impactful project. Next week is the place to hear. First time ever, because those projects are not going to be displayed anywhere before the 17th of June. So you're going to hear it firsthand. And then you can, claim your interest. Tell us, hey, I actually really like this one. I really think I can help this organization. I really think there's something for my company there to work with them. Then we, start the matching process and build more of those impact partnerships. So before, we wrap up, I'm checking the chat and things are not so quick there. So I'll use this time for myself. Oh, wait. Is there a way for developers from Africa to join or contribute to this great work? Well, yes, absolutely. So just to give you then my 30-second pitch of Tech to the Rescue, right? So we are an ecosystem in which we're using AI as, a way for scaling impact, for multiplying impact, right? And we do so by getting projects from nonprofits that are experts in their field, experts in the cause that they're supporting and they're trying to help. And we match them with tech companies around the world. So it doesn't matter where you are, any part of the world, as long as you are representing a tech company, a software agency, and you have, this drive or working towards an impactful cause, using AI to actually, support organizations in multiplying their impact, you're more than welcome to join and to register. Everything that we do is for free. And all the partnerships also that we encourage are always pro bono or low bono, right? Out of the commercial usual partnerships, but serious enough and even more impactful than one, I would say. We have a lot of, nice messages. So Andre, Eric, and Jiwon, I really encourage you to take a look after. I hope people felt inspired by you. So I want to close this with maybe a message from each one of you, right? And the message will be, for Jiwon and Eric, thinking of other organizations that I imagine could really relate to what you said today. What is, a message that you would give them? So before they're going to go through a partnership with a tech company, before they're actually partnered to build their product, to build their AI solution, what is, can be a message and advice? What is, last comment that you would give for them? Maybe I'll start with you, Jiwon.
Sure. The whole partnership felt so professional, and that's a weird word to use. And at the same time, at no point did 26 Bits think, it didn't feel like a charity case. And I know we are a charity, and we have this mission and stuff, but it was just so professional end to end. It felt like any other very, very high quality vendor that we were engaging with, except that we were values aligned, and they did this for free, which we really appreciate. Software and tech is an investment for sure, but one that I think is worth it if you really believe that it's going to make a difference at the end of it. So, for all the difference that MedCycle's network is going to make over the next few years in scaling their solution, 26 Bits was part of that journey, and we're really thankful for that.
Thank you so much. And then Eric, what would be your last piece of advice or message?
Yeah, I would say to your point, the tech company CEOs, founders, folks who are thinking about this, to take the next step, and do it together. Do it with Tech to the Rescue. It's really powerful, and there needs to be a bridge. And Anna and the entire team at Tech to the Rescue is really fantastic. So don't do it alone, I guess would be my message. Do it together, and also check out 26 Bits. They just did a case study. Right. So if you want to bring in some other folks, and maybe Andre can drop that in the chat or follow up on it's again, let's tell the story together, because that's, back to we need more poly solutions to face the poly crisis, to make the world better for more people. And we need to do that together. So please, if you're hesitant, take a calculated risk, be aware and be really clear around your boundaries and what you can do. Don't overpromise, don't overstretch. And so that way it is a joyful experience for you and for your team. You learn and grow, you feel good, you're excited, and you can celebrate it and then do it again.
Yeah, no, I love that. And building AI solutions is such a serious thing, right? But we need to open space to tell those stories when it works, when it's built responsibly, when it's actually delivering impact for people, not for the sake of being built something beautiful and shiny, right? It has a meaning, a purpose behind it, and we need to talk more about those stories. And of course, Andre, then I have to ask you, what is your last piece of advice or comment? Then, if you could address maybe the tech founders that are also here with us, that either listening today or will listen to the session later.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you, guys, Eric and Jiwon, for our wonderful collaboration. We've indeed learned a lot, and I highly appreciate your great involvement, and we did it together. Together is the main word here, because just statistically, if you try to, there is a very tiny chance you will be able to achieve that. Actually, that's statistically and everything. But when you do something together, you're not just double your chances, but the probability and possibility increases, like crazy. So do things together, collaborate, try to merge different worlds, technology and social impact organizations. So yeah, and also, guys, thank you for mentioning the case study. It's indeed on our website, so you can find it there and read more about details about what exact technology we used, about some numbers. So yeah, welcome to our website as well. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. And for everyone that was registered for the event, we can also link the case study. Also, Eric and Jiwon, if you have something that you wrote as well from the MedCycle Network, just send us the link. We can create a package for everyone, because we might have some people that registered, but they were not able to participate. We're going to send all those links over. And I want to end on reinforcing the invite that we have our matching day next week. And even for people that are not sure, after this session, I don't know how, but if you're still not sure, you want to get on board on an impactful project like this, feel free to join us next week, just to listen, just to feel inspired, just to see, what's happening out there in the world. We have organizations from every single part of the world with so many causes, from health, environment, climate, education. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be as inspiring as today. So thank you so much, Eric and Jiwon. Thank you so much, Andre. I mean, this is, a session that we're doing together, but it's not the end at all, because I hope, we're going to work more with you, Andre, with other projects, and Eric and Jiwon, we see each other at other programs at Tech to the Rescue as well.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.